Well, we understand students this morning have set tyres alight in Durban. That's because they're shutting down the Mangosuthu University of Technology today. They say they are not happy with NSFAS funding. Our colleague, reporter Dasen Thathiah, has been there since the early hours of this morning. Dasen, we come back to you alive. We still see that group of students at the Mangosuthu University of Technology gathered outside there. What's been happening in the last hour since we spoke to you?
Well, Dan, what's changed is that these students that you see behind me have now moved closer into the entrance of the university. And the reason for this is because police have now moved in on the roadside. And I think they now have a fear of being hit by the water cannon that's parked outside. Interestingly enough, Dan, when I spoke to Kodesa Gwala earlier, the SRC president at the university, one of the last questions that I asked him, if you remember, was about whether this protest was going to be violent at all. And he says that it's actually not going to be violent, and they haven't yet held a violent protest. But I can't help but notice here, just to my left, there's a crate that has pieces of tile and stones inside, and I noticed a few of the students collecting some of those, and presumably arming themselves. But while we're speaking, Dan, let me just take you a little further out and remind you of why these students are protesting. So, according to them, one of the big issues here is the issues around the NSFAS and the allowances that they are supposed to receive. They say that they've not reached any kind of consensus with university management, and that all meetings that they've wanted to hold with the university management hasn't actually come to fruition. So what they're doing today is what they see as a last resort. You'll see that some of the police are gathered here on the street just to prevent the students from spilling out and blocking the road. They've already blocked the entrance. You should be able to see some of the rocks and that tire burning here as you on the driveway of the university. But Dan, let me just quickly get into this group and see if I can talk to some of these students. Morning, Jess, how are you? Okay. Hi, you were addressing the students earlier, and one of the things that you said was that they should not retreat. What is your plan of action?
Sorry?
What is your plan of action?
No, we're planning to shut down the institution because the Vice Chancellor is not attending our issues. It's not that we like to strike, but we want to start. But we can't start under these circumstances that we're facing. You see.
What is at the top of your list personally? What is the main priority for you? Why are you here, part of this protest?
I think our grievances are simple. We want all students to be registered. The previous president announced free education. So they also said that free education is our right. It's our democratic right. So it's not like we're fighting for a different thing. We want what they promised us. They said they're going to give us free education. We're not asking for anything big or anything. We want free education. We want all students to be registered. That's what we want.
And your issue is also around the release of academic records, right?
Yeah, we also need academic records. What is the use of getting qualification? At the same time, you can't get employed because you own the institution. We don't want them to give us our qualification. We want them to give us academic records so that we can get employment outside.
What happens if this meeting with management doesn't come through today?
If they don't come through, we're going to continue. We will never get tired. If they want to kill us, they must kill us who are ready to die for what we want.
Thank you very much. Dan, that was just one of the student leaders that I had seen earlier. He was addressing this crowd just before you came to me. And one of the things that he was saying is that they shouldn't be afraid of the police that are there at the back, and they shouldn't retreat. And if anything, they need to maintain their stance. And you've just heard it now. He says that this protest will continue until they get some kind of consensus from the management of the Mangosuthu University of Technology.
Dasen, I just want to ask one more question. Hopefully you can hear me. We see the police across the road. We see the burning tire, kind of a very small barricade. They're separating the students where you are and the police. It's like a tense standoff, or is it not tense at all?
at this point, Dan, and I'll just take you a bit closer to what you're talking about. At this point, it seems like both parties have maintained their distance, with the students not getting onto the roadside and the police also not really making their move towards the university. They did try to extinguish this fire here, but for now I wouldn't necessarily call it tense, but I would say that it has the potential to escalate, considering that it has already in the past 30 minutes or so since we last spoke.
Yeah, and that water cannon position there, one wonders when it will be put into action. Thank you very much, Dasen. We'll let you go for now as you continue to monitor and cover that story for us there outside the Mangosuthu University of Technology in Durban.